Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Ranked where I climb the Online Series 13 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. In the previous episode, which I've linked down in the description below, we used a very fun team centered around weakness policy Ho-Oh as well as a very defensive Zamazenta. This team is very much centered around enabling strong attackers like Ho-Oh and Groudon, and it was built by 2014 World Championship semi-finalist Colin Heyer, who I've also linked down in the description below. So, we'll be playing a couple more matches with it today. Thanks as always for watching. If you enjoyed, please share your support by leaving a like in the video. I'd really appreciate it. And let's just get started. Okay, for this one we've got pretty standard stuff. Yveltal, Kyogre, Whimsicott, Zacian, Groudon. We featured that core many a times already, but they've also got Thundurus. And the main question is, are you support Thundurus or Defiant Thundurus? So I value Grimmsnarl in setting up screens in this game. Venusaur is not a terrible pick, but they do have Whimsicott. Plus if it's support Thundurus, that's actually really annoying. So, like, I'm down for Grimmsnarl plus Ho-Oh in this game, Groudon in the back, and then for the last one, I like Zamazenta a little bit more because I can use it to wide guard in the end game against Kyogre Groudon. Coaching is always valuable in this matchup as well. Basically, I don't love Venusaur here because my opponent has two flying types in Thundurus and Yveltal, and they have Tailwind support from Whimsicott and Kyogre, right? So it's like, for Venusaur to really feel comfortable, ideally, they don't even have great ways for speed control or weather control. And in this game, they have both +2 flying types. And if it's a Taunt Thundurus or Near Impulse Thundurus, I can just shut down Venusaur immediately. Now, I think in a best of 3, it's a pretty interesting adjustment, even as a lead, right? Because Leaf Powder in itself is always really strong, and maybe my opponent plays in a way expecting me to not bring Venusaur because they know their team is fairly anti-Venusaur. So that's one thing to consider. I don't love Calyrex into any matchup with Yveltal. I think it's just, you know, obviously Calyrex itself is super weak into Yveltal, and into the rest of my opponent's team here. I mean, I can Snarl and Will-O-Wisp. A little bit hesitant about Snarls in this game, and I think, like, my opponent's team is fairly fast-paced with Whimsicott Tailwind, right? And it's just some of the strongest attackers in the game. So I actually don't think Snarl or Will-O-Wisp gets me very far, because I think Calyrex likely will just faint after 1 or 2 turns. And I don't think trading it for a Burn or a Snarl in this game is enough, personally. So, they're going to go with Whimsicott and Yveltal. I am okay with that lead. I'm really curious about, like, potential items here, whether it's physical or special Yveltal. Physical Yveltal is a thing. In fact, physical Yveltal with max Rockfall is a thing. I'm down to light screen and switch out into Zamazenta on turn 1 here. Because, like, I think if it is physical Yveltal... Okay, Whimsicott switches. That's fine with me. Into Zacian. Huh, that's an interesting switch. I was actually thinking about Sacred Firing there, but I really don't want to just lose Ho-Oh immediately. And if I can get both screens up in this game, I think it's really strong for me. Because, like, what we're trying to do is essentially stall out our opponent's Dynamax and then go all in with Ho-Oh. But the main thing is, in this matchup, I don't know if it's physical or special Yveltal. It would make me so happy if Yveltal Dynamax, I went for max Rockfall onto the Ho-Oh slot. That would be my dream right now. But I think it would make sense for it to Airstream either slot here. And if I can get another screen up with Grimmsnarl, I'll be very happy. Because getting both Light Screen and Reflect in this game is so nice for Ho-Oh. But I went for Light Screen because I also thought, like, hey, maybe Whimsicott stays in here and goes for Moonblast. Okay, they just go for Airstream. That's fine. Into Zamazenta. Okay. Could be worse. Yeah, I really can't tell if that's physical or special based off that. But I'm going to Reflect now. The question is whether or not I want to switch out here. Like, truthfully, I don't really want to. Yeah, I'm kind of down to just Reflect and Behemoth Bash into Yveltal here. I think, like, I'd probably just lose the Zamazenta. But I don't think switching to Ho-Oh or Groudon's worth it for me in this position. I'd actually just stayed in with Ho-Oh last turn. Might have been okay. But, like I said, we're trying to stall our opponent's Dynamax. And then Ho-Oh can, like, potentially get a one-hit KO onto Zacian, onto Whimsicott. If I get this Bash onto Yveltal post-Dynamax, maybe we can just one-shot the Yveltal as well. What's awkward for me is that Grimmsnarl's not really doing that much in this current moment, but that's okay. Like, they could just go for, you know, Behemoth Blade onto Grimmsnarl, Max Airstream onto Zamazenta, but then I actually don't think that trade-off's super bad. Okay, they go for play rough here. Yep, that makes sense. A little bit risky since you do potentially play into a miss there rather than Behemoth blading. But this actually means I should survive with Zamazenta, which is nice. So in the end, I've traded a fair amount of resources to get to this point, right? I've lost a Pokemon, I've lost half of, or more than half of Zamazenta's health as well. But I'm actually decently content with where we are, I would argue. I think this next turn is really interesting. Because I can, like, max guard or protect Ho-Oh, but I'm inclined to kind of just attack with it. It's good damage onto Yveltal there, too, by the way. So, let's bring out Ho-Oh now. One other thing to consider is Kyogre in the back for my opponent as the end game, right? Because if I lose Zamazenta right now, I'm stuck with it out, and that's not good. I also have to worry about Tailwind support. Sorry, I'm stuck with Groudon out, that's what I meant to say. But their Kyogre should probably underspeed my Groudon. Sorry, my Groudon should underspeed them. So in this position, I think I'm down to click Max Flare into Zacian and try to KO that. I don't think I ever get Behemoth Bash off here into Yveltal, but it would be a pleasant birthday gift. It's not actually my birthday, but that is coming up soon. We've got Groudon in the back. I mean, I'd be shocked if their last one weren't Kyogre. I guess it could be their own Groudon. What's interesting is, like, you know, we've gotten Ho into a position where, okay, I've gotten both screens up. I have 2 extra turns of Dynamax relative to my opponent. They don't protect the Zacian, which is good. I'm just hoping Zacian isn't bulky enough to actually survive a Max Flare here. That would be very bad for me. That does not even KO Zamazenta. Yeah, they just actually went for Behemoth Blade. Works for me. And Darkness. Okay. Yep, I am more than okay with that. I am curious with Zacian then, what other attacks you have there, because Behemoth Blade was definitely the least optimal into Zamazenta there, in my opinion. If Behemoth Bash just KOs, like if we pick up a double KO here, by the way, we probably just win. If it's Whimsicott Kyogre in the back, because then I can just switch into Groudon, maintain the Weather War, and win from there. Oh, it has like 1 HP. Wow, that is slightly unfortunate. Flare does pick up the KO there, though. Okay, it's not the end of the world. Actually, I'm still very happy about my position. I think the fact that my Zamazenta actually got 2 Behemoth Bashes off is very, very awesome. So, yes, a very nice birthday gift from my opponent here. That is going to be Whimsicott coming back in. Fine by me. Could Oblivion Wing to heal back up. Airstream's just a KO onto Yveltal here. Let's see, they could Oblivion Wing Zamazenta, and then they yeah, I feel like I should switch Zamazenta out here. I actually like the idea of Airstream into Whimsicott, switching Zamazenta out into Groudon. Basically, like, I'm looking to win the Weather War right now. So, you know, if Yveltal goes for something that's not Oblivion Wing, it KOs itself, then yes, they'll bring Kyogre out, presumably, but then I can just switch the Groudon back out into Zamazenta, sacrifice it, and then get it Groudon back out. Whereas if I just, like, lose Zamazenta here, then my opponent will be able to win the Weather War, and I really don't want to just lose to Kyogre under Tailwind in Rain, right? That's the main scenario we're trying to avoid here. So, they Tailwind, that's expected, that's fine. Okay, I'm gonna go for Oblivion Wing. Yep, that's okay. Part of the other thing here is I did not want to intentionally get a KO onto Yveltal, because if I knock that out, then they get a free switch it into Kyogre, and with me switching in Groudon the way I did, that's not ideal. I could have just gone for Airstream onto Yveltal, actually. Then I would have had Ho-Oh Groudon in the end game. Yeah, maybe that's not a terrible option either. But this actually works out pretty well for us, right? Because, like, they're Focus Sashed here. So I get a speed boost now. Last turn of Dynamax. I'm at -1 special defense. 4 turns of light screen left. So, like, I have a double KO in front of me if I want it. How many turns of Tailwind? 3. I'm just kind of worried about the rest of Whimsicott's moveset here. Okay, I'm down to Airstream into Evoltol and then switch on into Zamazenta here. But if Whimsicott is fake tears... Oh, that's Kyogre? Nice. That's huge for us. Okay. This endgame is actually really interesting because we're both kind of vying for control over weather. And so, like, I brought in Groudon what seemed like kind of prematurely, but it was to kind of to cover for Zamazenta, you know, fainting. And then now they're actually bringing out Kyogre. And they actually charm into the Groudon slot, which is the absolute best case scenario for us here. That turn could not have worked out any better for me, I think. Okay, we almost KO Kyogre. It's not enough, but that's okay. Well, this game still isn't over. Groudon should be in a really good spot at this point. We got a speed boost here. For me personally, like, I'm okay clicking Wide Guard into Brave Bird here, I think. Oops, I want to Brave Bird Kyogre for sure. Because late game Groudon now looks really good as well. Yeah, this is an intense end game, but I think we managed to stall out our opponent's Dynamax effectively in the early game, which gives us room to work with. What am I really worried about in this position? Okay, well, I get Wide Guard off and they don't protect, so I think that's pretty ideal. Probably crit Thunder onto Ho-Oh right now. Okay, they Energy Balls. I don't even know if that KOs. Oh my gosh, the Zamazenta refuses to faint. There, they do Thunder. Does this KO? I don't expect it to, but... Oh my gosh, that was so close. Okay, please no paralysis. If we don't get a para here, late game Groudon is looking very good. Okay, no para. Although I do faint from Brave Bird Recoil. And actually, because they didn't KO us with Energy Ball, like I was expecting, I don't know, maybe a Moonblast. Or for Energy Ball to just KO, so might as well Wide Guard to cover for an Origin Pulse. Oh my gosh, this endgame's actually fascinating, because like... It kind of comes down to the Evoltol moveset. Actually, if you foul play, you just faint. Oh, but like, basically this turn is do you protect with Evoltol? Because if I end up Rock Tombing into Protect, then they can just Energy Ball foul play me, right? Oh my gosh, this is so close. And I also have to worry about Oblivion Wing healing them up into foul play. Okay, I'm going to Rock Tomb Snarl here. They don't protect. Nice, okay. Unless they KO with Foul Play here, we should win the game. And we have Reflect Up, so I don't think Foul Play will KO. Yeah, they just Oblivion Wing, okay. That shouldn't do that much with Light Screen and Assault Vest. You take Life Orb Recoil, Rock Tomb KOs you, and then it's Groudon 1v1 against Whimsicott, I just Fire Punch there. I could have clicked Fire Punch here, actually. I don't know why I Rock Tombed. I risked the miss there. That was actually incredibly risky. I guess, like, I was just worried Fire Punch wouldn't do enough, but that's such a weird fear when they're at, like, 2%. So, now we're just looking to avoid an Energy Ball critical hit, but with Assault Vest here, we're looking fairly good. This was a crazy game. Last turn of Light Screen. Yeah, I mean, you can stall out Light Screen here, but it's not going to be enough. Yep. Because you're still looking for a crit anyway. Nice. No crit. That was a really crazy game. Like, it felt like I had decent control after stalling out my opponent's Dynamax, but I think, like, the turn where we survived just with such little HP on everything, right? Like, Zamazenta surviving, like, them going for Behemoth Blade onto Zamazenta, and then surviving Energy Ball and surviving Thunder from Kyogre. If any of those attacks just KO us, we probably lose this one, but that's exactly why this team has so much bulk to work with, right? So, yeah. Well, I need a break after that one. Whoa. Dialga, Solgaleo, Zacian, Triple Steel, Reshiram, Groudon, Calyrex. So interesting to always see, like, or not always, but when I see these 6 restricted Mon teams. I mean, they're really Groudon weak, no? Venusaur is even tempting, even with 3 steel types, because I can max Quake. It's probably not the right bring, though. Okay, what does Groudon have to worry about here? Will-O-Wisp from Calyrex, max Wormwind from Reshiram, Solgaleo, max Steel Spikes. I don't think I want to bring Grimmsnarl into a triple steel matchup. Zamazenta. Plus Groudon? Okay, I'm down for Zamazenta, Groudon, Ho-Oh, Calyrex. Yeah, I'm just going to go with all my restricteds here. I think they're too strong not to bring. So what are we trying to accomplish with Zamazenta plus Groudon? Coaching early, but let's say they lead Calyrex, then it's likely they'll want to Will-O-Wisp Groudon, so I could pivot Groudon out into Ho-Oh to bait the Will-O-Wisp and just snarl them immediately. That is Calyrex and Dialga, I believe. Yes. Yeah, I think I probably... I could just snarl Precipice Blades here, truthfully, because like if I switch Groudon out, Ho-Oh does end up eating a potential max Wormwind, which I don't love. They could also Astral Barrage here. Nah, but if I get burnt on Groudon, Precipice Blades isn't KOing Calyrex. I do have Shadow Claw though, no? It's not a terrible idea, actually. Snarl into... Shadow Clawing the Calyrex. I don't hate that, personally. Let's do it. I think if we can just eliminate Calyrex immediately, it does a couple things. One, it opens my Calyrex for a slightly stronger endgame. Now that I never expected. I honestly am totally okay with that, though, truthfully. But now I'm thinking, are you Trick Room on the Dialga, potentially? Because if Dialga isn't maxing here on turn 1, what in the world is it doing, right? Yeah, we outspeed it with Shadow Claw here. I should have paid attention as to Dialga's ability at the start of the game. Yeah, it is Trick Room. Okay. Well, I definitely didn't anticipate Trick Room giving that lead matchup, I think. So, that's a really cool play in itself. It's Reshiram under Trick Room now. Okay. Yeah, that is looking pretty scary. I think we probably have to Dynamax Groudon in response. Yeah, I guess I just switched Zamazenta out into Ho-Oh here. Dynamax Quake. What's the likely max option between these two is the other question. I would think Reshiram because Dialga's at -1 special attack right now. But what we can use to our advantage is my opponent not having a single ground resistor immunity, so it's fairly easy to just Dynamax Groudon here. Reflect is up though, right? So I have to play around that. But Dialga's damage output, not amazing. And both of the Pokemon on my opponent's side are actually Pokemon I typically want to Dynamax. So I can use that to my advantage, saying, okay, well, you can only Dynamax one of the two right now. So Zamazenta switches out. Okay, we bring in Ho-Oh. They're going to Dynamax. No surprise there. Staying in with both, though. I think the one thing about Dialga I'm worried about is a potential Power Gem. Like, if they read into Zamazenta switching out into Ho-Oh and Power Gem me, that would be brutal. The other thing is it's fairly obvious that I'm switching Zamazenta out there, so I wouldn't be surprised if they just Wormwinded or Flared into the Groudon slot. But with us having a Solvest, honestly, I think this is okay. Especially because Groudon's going to get special defense boosts as well. And the idea is with Ho, I can stall out my opponent's Dynamax. And then we can use Calyrex Astral Barrage in the late game to clean things up. And that's why eliminating their Calyrex early on was good. Because by getting that out of the way, it means that my Calyrex can have a safer endgame right now. Okay, they go for Flare. Into Groudon. Okay, nicely done. Oh, if they Roar of Time into that... Oh, that's its Life Orb Reshiram. I was like, how do you do that much damage? Okay, nice. They Steel Beam. That is not nearly as scary of an option, although that's actually a gorgeous animation. Dialga's going to eat up a lot of damage. And now he Max Quake. I would guess, what, 40% maybe? Oh, actually more. That was over 50, which I'm happy with. I get another special defense boost, which is pretty sweet for both of these Pokemon. What do I think their final Pokemon's going to be? Solgaleo. Probably their own Groudon, if I had to guess. How many turns of Dynamax or Trick Room do we have? 3? Yeah, I'm just worried about the random rock type attack from Dialga. I don't think they're going to have it, though, honestly. Like, I'm down to just Sacred Fire into Dialga here and Quake into Reshiram. Okay, they go for Wormwind. I don't even know if a Steel Beam KOs me now thanks to Snarl and the special defense drop, so I think that's huge. But I also probably don't KO Reshiram now thanks to Reflect and Intimidate being up. Okay, they go for Steel Beam. That's going to cost them the game, actually, I'm fairly sure, because Dialga faints, and now I just get a double up onto the Reshiram slot. But maybe Reshiram survives the double, we'll see. Brave Bird really isn't doing very much at -1 with Reflect up as well. Yeah, it should survive. But Reshiram might be in Life Orb range from one more attack. I think the main thing here is, like, my opponent spent to Calyrex to just get a Reflect up, right? Or actually, I went for Sacred Fire, so it's always surviving for sure. But I don't think Brave Bird would have KO'd either way. So I expect Groudon here in the back for my opponent, but let's see. Yep. Okay. What was that? +2 special defense. There's 2 turns of Trick Room left. I've got Wide Guard in the back, and Calyrex is what we're looking to end this game with, right? So here, like, Max Wormwind on a Groudon makes sense. Do I ever switch Groudon out in this position into Zamazenta? Protect. I think I'm down because I don't think Zamazenta does anything for me in this endgame. So even if they make the read and target it, that's fine. I just go into Calyrex, I protect Calyrex, sacrifice Ho-Oh, or switch Ho-Oh out into Groudon, and just win the game with late game Calyrex plus one of Ho-Oh or Groudon. But basically the idea is, hey, I have a 4-2 lead right now. You're almost out of turns of Trick Room, and you're on your last turn of Dynamax as well. Maybe they have the foresight to go for Max Flare here or Precipice Blades, but even then, I think sacrificing Zamazenta in this position is fine. Great job by them. They don't go for Wormwind. They do go for Flare there. Nice. That's okay with me, though. Like, Reshiram is near its end. You get one more Life Orb hit off. Oh, that makes things interesting, though. Okay. I think Bulk Up is honestly fine, though. I'd actually maybe rather see Bulk Up because it means you don't have Assault Vest. So Calyrex wins this endgame a little bit better. Yeah. So now we can just protect Calyrex. And I think I give up Groudon here. If I had just stayed in with Groudon last turn, I would have just lost it, bringing out Calyrex, protect, and then it's a 3v2. Whereas now I'm playing down with 2 Pokemon, but I'm okay with that outcome, truthfully. So switch Ho out into Groudon here, protect Calyrex. And with Astral Barrage and Will-O-Wisp, as well as us canceling a potential Citrus Berry here, I feel fairly confident with the end game, but I could still lose with maybe Sacred Fire misses. Reflect is still up, so we want to be thinking about that as well. If Reshiram, like, KOs itself from Life Orb here, that'd be a disaster for them. But yeah, you should always Blue Flare the Calyrex slot. Okay, they go for another Bulk Up. It's honestly fine. Not too worried about that right now. This turn is interesting to me because I think, like, Reshiram protecting is so obvious. I think I'm down to just switch out into Ho-Oh and Astral Barrage here, though. It's just, like, I think I could win the game here by reading into Protect. Going for, like, Precipice Blades plus Will-O-Wisp here. Yeah, I'm down for that. I guess the only thing is I don't know how fast their Groudon is. Yeah, they protect. Cool. Okay, don't miss Will-O-Wisp and we're okay. Nice. I really should not say that, though. It always makes me too uncomfortable. Yep. This was a little bit risky because their Groudon could have actually been faster than mine, but I figured the odds of that were fairly unlikely. Oh, and we crit them too. That's, yeah. Didn't want to win the game that way, but now the game's 100% over. Basically, the idea here is I get Will-O-Wisp off, you KO my Groudon, I get a little bit of chip damage from the Will-O-Wisp, as well as the Precipice Blades, yeah, your leftovers. So then Calyrex comes out, I Astral Barrage, Brave Bird. Yeah, it is, like, I think, because the other thing is I'm curious what Rock-type attack Groudon had, right? Because if it's not Stone Edge, and it's, you know, like Rock Slide, Rock Tomb, or even if you have a Rock-type attack, yeah, that crit kind of sucks, though, because I think my opponent still had a decent shot at winning the game without it, given that I didn't protect Calyrex. If I wanted to actually win the game, the right play was protect Calyrex to read into Reshiram's protect, take no damage, and then just Astral to get the special attack boost, and then I get a single target Astral into Groudon. The problem with how I set that up is, yeah, I get the burn, but it's still a 2-hit KO onto Calyrex because they're at +2 attack, and yeah, like, I don't get a special attack boost before fainting. They could mispress this plays. Like, there was a lot that could have gone wrong for my opponent there, but in the end, that crit just, like, guaranteed us the game, whereas without it, I actually thought it was a fairly even state, where the next turn you could actually go for another protect with Reshiram. If not, then Astral Barrage should just get the KO onto you. Groudon's maybe at, like, 40-50%-ish, and it's burnt, but it has leftovers, and I have Ho-Oh. So then it's a Ho-Oh versus Groudon 1v1, and then if you have Stone Edge, you actually might just win the game from that position. So, yeah. Our third game here, and they only have 2 restricteds. Kyogre, Kyurem, Black. Okay. Kyurem, Black, I actually have very little experience fighting against. Kyogre, Gastrodon. I honestly want to play a more Venusaur-centric game, just because I haven't really gotten to feature this Pokemon at all in our time with this team. But, like, I could go Grim, Venu. I think since they only have 2 restricteds, I should make it fair and only bring 2 restricteds myself. Yeah, I'm not opposed to Grim, Venu, Groudon, plus a 4th. I don't think Ho is super good here, honestly, with Kyogre and Landorus. I'm okay with Calyrex. This should be fun. Yeah, like, I actually don't, like, I wouldn't bring Ho-Oh most of the time into a matchup like this, because I think it's just fairly tough for it to get much going. I actually think our opponent's team matches up fairly well against us, and I think Kyurem Black is kind of the wild card for me here, because I just really haven't fought against it very much at all. They go with Whimsicott and Incineroar. Okay. I mean, this is definitely one of the more passive leads that my opponent could lead. And one thing that's fun to note here is that the Venusaur does actually have Sludge Bomb. I don't know, you could fake out Grim. They could just Flare Blitz Venusaur. That's one option. Turn 1. Okay, I'm down to Spirit Break Whimsicott and Sludge Bomb it, honestly. I think here, most players maybe fake out into the Grimmsnarl. It's fun playing VGC Series 12 again, by the way. we're basically both using Series 12 comps, given the 4 that we've brought into this battle. So that's fun. Anyway, a lot of options we could go for here. They are going to click Fake Out onto Grimmsnarl. Fine by me. Tailwind. Fine by me. I would say that works out decently well for us. Sludge Bomb here brings you down to Sash, unless you don't have Sash. There's a poison chance, but I don't mind Whimsicott not getting poisoned, because I actually wanted to stay on the field. It does awkwardly get poisoned, though, so... I mean, it's still great for us. It's a secondary effect at the end of the day, so I can't complain. But I actually like Whimsicott being out on the field because it denies my opponent a free switch in, thus wasting a turn of their Trick Room. I guess I shouldn't say wasting, but essentially, like, if Whimsicott doesn't faint from poison, you have Whimsicott and Incineroar out on the field, meaning that, you know, you don't have a sweeper out immediately. Whereas now you get a free switch in into Kyurem if you want it. Yeah, there it is. Okay. I mean, I'm down a Scary Face. Switch out into Calyrex here. Because I can Scary Face it again if Grimmsnarl doesn't faint. And even if Grimmsnarl faints, I can bring Venusaur back out. And then switch Calyrex out into Groudon and potentially Sleep Powder Kyurem. I think for me, the primary debate is... like whether it was worth setting up screens here instead. But the reason I didn't value setting up screens was because, I don't know, Kyurem's so strong. I was thinking maybe it even KOs Venusaur through screens. Plus, like, you could double up on the Venus slot. Max heals from Flare Blitz, for example. Whereas with Scary Face, I can control the speed a little bit. Okay. We get Scary Face off into it, which allows Calyrex now to outspeed it as well, going into next turn, which is good. Okay, Incineroar is faster than the Kyurem. That's good information. Yep, they did Flare Blitz into the Calyrex slot. The thing is, Calyrex just isn't that valuable for me at this point on in the game, right? Okay, hold on. Because it's Max Steel Spike. First of all, that's a nice play. Oh, also the Incineroar is faster because I Scary Faced Kyurem. Yeah, I forgot about that. I was like, why are you outspeeding here? It's weird. Kyogre should be their last one, no? Kyurem is looking pretty scary. I'm not going to lie. This is a physical Pokemon, right? I actually don't know off the top of my head. Because I've, like, barely ever fought against it. Like, what I could do here is just Sleep Powder into you, switch Calyrex out into Groudon, and then look towards the late game Dynamax Groudon game. The alternative would be Dynamax Venu. I could even, like, Max Guard or Max Quake. I could also Will-O-Wisp Kyurem. Will-O-Wisp Kyurem, Max Venusaur, Max Quake, Incineroar. I don't love this play because I think that they could just Flare Blitz Hailstorm my Venusaur slot. Yeah, I don't think this is the right play. Plus, like, Max Quake might not KO Incineroar. I think it was better to risk the Sleep Powder there. Because if I hit the Kyurem, I think we're in really good shape with late game Dynamax Groudon plus Calyrex with Snarl. But honestly, fighting against a Kyurem Black here is super, super cool. I have such little experience going up against it, so these are always the games that you learn so much from, honestly. But we don't miss Will-O-Wisp, which is always nice. Okay. Oh my gosh, Flare Blitz in itself almost just KOs me. Okay. And they're faster. Should have thought about that as well. This actually works out. Oh my gosh, they didn't even KO the Calyrex. I think my opponent, like, could have won this if they just doubled up on a Venusaur. A Hailstorm there would have been a KO plus chip damage on a Calyrex. The thing is now I actually KO Incineroar, I win the Weather War, I can Max Guard Venu next turn and then bring out Groudon and then just Vine Lash. So I think we actually win this game now based off that, but I don't think I should have won this. Both this game and the previous one, honestly, like, I very easily could have been 1-2 today rather than a potential 3-0. And sometimes the margins in Pokemon can just be really thin, right? Each turn just makes such a big difference, and there's so many turns where, like, maybe you could just win the game. However, that max signing play was actually really smart because it means me switching to Groudon and Sleep Powdering would have instantly lost me the game. Because they were just faster with both. And I should have thought about that. Like, Kyurem's decently fast, and even at -2, they still have Tailwind up. But now we Max Guard. And we can simply sacrifice Calyrex. With Calyrex down, Groudon comes out. They actually protect Kyogre, which I think 100%. No, not 100%. 2/3 of the time costs them the game. Okay, so I get Snarl off. Could have gone for Astral. I'm down to decrease Kyogre's special attack if it chooses. Well, I guess the only way that would happen is if Kyogre protected. No, sorry, not protected. If it went for like an Ice Beam into Venusaur. Because otherwise, you're normally KOing Calyrex if you're attacking there. But Tailwind Peter's out. So now I can just go for Vine Lash into the Kyogre slot. Switch into Groudon. And yeah. We finally get to end with Venusaur here. Because we didn't really bring Venusaur in any of the other games with this team. And it's not a bad pick, but like I think it makes a lot of sense in this matchup because my opponent had Gastrodon, they had Kyogre, Sleep Powder Pressure looked good. It is weird because Venusaur in itself obviously doesn't feel really good into their, you know, really unique restricted in Kyurem. But I didn't really want to be bringing a hole into this matchup. And I thought Zamazenta was a little bit too passive. Although it's not terrible into Kyurem, thanks to Behemoth Bash. But yeah, because they committed Protect last turn, I just get Vine Lash off. I think even if they didn't Protect, though, I still get the Vine Lash, and it's so much damage, plus damage through Protect, and I've won the Weather War as well. So we get a crit, so more insult to injury, but they're not Assault Vest here, so should have KO'd anyway. Unless they're, like, super, super specially defensive. And yeah, there's Iron Head. Kyurem gets the KO, but 2v1 now. I've got Astral Barrage, Fire Punch, so we can just rely on 100% accurate attacks to win the game. But yeah, I think if Venusaur had just gone down earlier, the endgame would have been a lot harder for me. Now, granted, Kyurem was burnt, and I would have won the Weather War with Groudon still. No, I wouldn't have won the Weather War if they doubled up onto Venusaur that turn. Yeah, I just wouldn't have gotten an attack off with Venusaur. So that was really risky on my end, because in my head, was like, oh, I'll just outspeed Kyurem Black, but I actually don't remember that Pokemon's base speed off the top of my head. So that also did not help in this one. but I'm just going to Astral Barrage and Fire Punch here. And that's it. Part of it is when you lead Whimsicott and Incineroar, it's a fairly passive lead, but their Incineroar was actually a monster offensively in this one. It did so much damage with the Flare Blitzes, and something I should have thought about a little bit more. So I'm not super pleased with how I played this, because I think if my opponent doubles up on Venusaur the turn I max there, that's just game over. But I guess I never had 100% safe play in that position, and part of it is just like, we don't necessarily have the best Kira matchup. Zamazenta would probably patch that hole a little bit. I could go with all 4 of my restricteds, but honestly I thought Venusaur and Grimmsnarl were better here. Okay, so there's Astral Barrage. And that will get the KO. Very nice. This team is awesome. I really, really love it. I think it utilizes Ho and Zamazenta so well. And, you know, if you haven't seen the last episode, I'd highly recommend it. I think that one highlighted just how good both of those Pokemon can be. But overall, yeah, I think Colin did a wonderful job building this. So huge thanks to him for putting the team together once again. Details are in the description below. And yeah, that's going to be it for this one. So leave a like if you enjoyed. Don't forget to answer the question of the day. And I'll see you all soon. All right. Peace.